I'm here today on location at Prince William Ice Center, and we've got the great pleasure of interviewing Coach Barrett Haga from the Nova Nighthawks. Coach Barrett has built this program, and when I was doing my research, Coach, 10 seasons with Nova?
That's correct.
That's correct?
Yeah.
And I see that Nova belongs to the Blue Ridge Hockey Conference, is that correct?
We used to. It just changed its name to the East Coast Collegiate Hockey Association this past year, so it's a rebrand. It's trying to rebuild again, pull some of the North Carolina and South Carolina teams back into the league.
Okay.
So it's a growing process. Many of the old teams are still in it, Old Dominion, William & Mary, and us.
Okay.
So.
Wow. So how's the competition in this league?
It is pretty solid. There's a couple divisions. We're in the Atlantic, which is kind of the middle tier.
Right.
We're ranked number 1 in the Atlantic North, with Richmond and East Carolina ranked number 1 and 2 respectively in the Atlantic South.
Okay.
We also have the Colonial Division, which tends to be the better schools like Christopher Newport, VCU, Radford, but we end up playing those teams as well. And we play them either very close or we end up defeating them as well.
Right. You know, to be honest, I didn't even know you guys had a hockey organization, a hockey team with Nova until probably about 3 or 4 years ago, as I first started hearing bits and pieces about it. And then I've been, I do some research and research, but I wasn't there last year, but I see congratulations because you guys won the championship last year, right, in your division?
We were ranked number 2 in our division. We went to lost in the semifinals to Richmond, but then the year before we won the Blue Ridge.
Okay, all right.
So.
Man, that's big time.
So we're 36-11 the past 2 years. So.
Really? So tell me a little bit about yourself, though, because I see that you played hockey. Now, did you play goalie in the junior programs, or? So
I played for the famed Fargo Flyers organization up in North Dakota. Went all the way through the Flyers, and then when I was in high school, my folks moved from Fargo, North Dakota to Pensacola, Florida.
Right.
And there's no hockey anywhere in sight.
Right.
And the only program that around there was the ECHL Pensacola Ice Pilots at the time. And I walked in, and one of Coach Peterson, who was the coach at the time, who used to be Minnesota North Star, Beach Peterson, Al Peterson. And I go, Beach, what are you doing down here? And he looked at me and he's like, what are you doing here in Pensacola of all places? And he said, I wanted to find a way to maintain my eligibility. So he made me part of their training staff, goalie scout, but I could practice and play with the players without losing my eligibility.
Excellent.
And so I went to the Cully Cup that year. Right. Got to really enjoy professional hockey. Was recruited to play hockey in college, but after so much wear and tear, I decided to run cross country and track at Rhodes College in Memphis. And I take a lot of that track into the hockey coaching here. I was just going to ask you that because I did see that. You ran track and field. And how do you apply the training that you learned in track and field into hockey with these players? So I've done a lot of research on this topic, and I've actually published a lot of work in terms of incorporating USATF, United States American Track and Field Federation, workouts into hockey, and especially the ones that I looked at. Most people will say hockey is a power sport. They don't realize there's an error in that study. Right. The study only measured one shift of hockey. And hockey is a repetitive sport where you're playing every 45 seconds of a change, so the average hockey player is playing between 18 and 23 minutes per game in a repeat fashion. Exactly. And it's not really a power sport, it's actually a repeat sport. And when you look at that, I said, what type of running off-air and dry lands can we take to amplify the various lung capacities, your aerobic threshold, anaerobic threshold, and other physical systems to replicate that off ice. And 800-meter running, which is actually the event I ran in college, we did, when you're training for the 800 in college, you're doing a 2-mile warm-up, 20 by 400-meter repeat, 2-mile cool-down. Now, I'm not asking these guys to do 20 by 400, but we'll do a mile warm-up, 8 by, we do everything in 45-second increments. So it may be 8 by 200 meters, which is about 45 seconds, or 8 by 400 meters, which is about 90 seconds. 4 by half mile, which is 4x, 45 seconds. And we've shown a dramatic improvement in terms of skating abilities, workout abilities, lung capacities. They didn't lose a third period last year at all. And because they're just in better physical shape. And our program philosophy here is, by now you should know how to pass and shoot. My job is to take you into a great athlete. So your philosophy then, you're going to take them into become a great athlete. How do you do that? I mean, because there's a lot of mental component, not just the physical, and then the injury and coming off of injury and coming back.
How do you bring those guys back to play for you? Because I mean, you've got a good organization going, and I've seen that, and I really respect that. Just out of the research that I was doing, how do you bring them back?
So we're a community college, so we only have them for 2 or 3 years max. Right. And I don't want them beyond 3 years. I said, look, you're in a 2-year school. If you anything beyond 3 years, you're not functioning in society. So we have basically the 4 rules of how to play for us. There's 4 rules, and our workouts are designed to continue on those 4 systems. So if you play for us, there's only 4 things I want out of you.
Okay. To
get a 4-year degree, to get an associate's to go become a productive member of society, to get a trade associate's degree, welding, whatever, or to join the military.
Okay.
If you don't want to do one of those 4 things, don't play.
Right.
And once you buy into those 4, everything's designed in a program to give you success on and off the ice. So our on-ice workouts, we do very similar to the Karate Kid model of muscle memory, repetitive memory things.
Right.
So I only have 11 drills. And by practice 5, you're going to know the exact 11 drills we're going to do all year long. And by the end, I want it so smooth and so repetitive that your memory in muscle-wise and physicalness, you can actually gauge where you want to be.
Right.
So we've got one that we do called the Jackrabbit, which is a parallel breakout drill and come back around 2-on-1. By the end of the year, it should be so smooth that, because you're doing it by muscle memory, that you become a great athlete. And now you're also physically fit too from the on-ice workouts. In the classroom, if you don't hit your grades too, you're not moving on. So those are the 3 components that we want: on ice, off ice, and classroom. I don't care about anything else, and those are the things that put the program together.
So I'm seeing what you're doing right there, and you're working on the brain, man. You're working on the brain, cognitive, muscle memory, and their whole nervous system is functioning and firing consistently. There's tons of research. I don't know, some of our listeners probably know from previous podcasts, but there's tons of research after the show. You just get a little oxygen in there, right? And frontal lobe explodes, and every muscle, memory explodes, and they become a little bit smarter. And then I read a couple articles. I would agree. I've been around for about 13 years in this field, but my hockey players are much smarter when it comes to being on the ice, and they have more physical ability. Right, because normally when we see as an athlete, we tend to look at football, right? We tend to look at, man, are you cut? How big are you? How much muscle you have? But what I'm seeing is, especially with my hockey athletes, is that not only do they have to be skating and going in one direction, your brain needs to be able to communicate with your wrists, with your hands, with your elbows to take that shot. Because you're not going to take that shot straight on. It's never going to be a straight on shot. It's going to be at multiple angles, right? And you have to be able to think and move. So yeah, I see what you're doing with that training, and you're just repeating, getting them stronger. I do like that. So from what we talked about before, so I see that many of your players have gone to 4-year colleges, right? What are other helpful hints that you get them to move on? Is there anything else that you do training wise, so like from a focus standpoint, is there like meditation? Is there goal setting, writing them down? Do you do any of that with your team?
We actually have a very tough love type program. We have a former Army Ranger, Special Forces guy. That's one of my assistant coaches. Right. The assistant coaches I've hired are great people, more so, and mentors, more so than great hockey players. Yes, they can play hockey, but the goal is to get these people to move on to better their lives. We call it, pardon the expression here to your viewers, the un-F yourself rule.
Right.
Like, you're here in the program at Nova to un-F yourself for a bigger, better career. And we try to make great people out of our program. Yes, we like to win on the ice, but our winning is counted by how many people do we move on to a 4-year school?
Sure.
How many people do enlist in the military? That's how we really gauge our wins as a program. We have about a 75, we have a graduation rate that's nearly 3 times the graduation rate as the community college in general. We've sent kids to NYU, New York University, Yale, London School of Economics, University of Virginia. We also send a lot of players to University of Florida. And it may sound odd, why Virginia to Florida?
Right.
Because the out-of-state tuition in Florida is within $1,000 of the in-state tuition of Virginia.
Really?
And we say, get out of Virginia, that's all you know. Learn, explore.
Learn the
We've
world.
got University of Florida, University of Central Florida. We have multiple players playing for them. We have players that's played for Ole Miss, Mississippi State. And every branch of the military has our players. We've got professionals here in the U.S. and professional hockey players in Europe.
Wow.
For a 2-year college, that's not a bad...
So off camera, we were talking about your trials and tribulations over the last 10 years, and you mentioned that there came a point in time where you had to kind of clean house. But as I was doing my research, I saw that you have built a culture here, and in my experience, I've been with teams that had skilled players, but the coaches couldn't bring that culture there, the winning culture, the focus, the drive, the want to do it, the want to be successful on and off the ice. How did you implement that? Was it an accident, or did you have a specific game plan for these players?
The first couple of years of the program, we truly said it was play to play.
Right.
And then we had a year that we tried to make the next jump. It was a complete failure. And top down, the organization failed.
Really?
And the next 2 years, we went to combined 0-46 because we just cleaned house.
Right.
Let's start from scratch. You've got to learn to fail to learn to win. There's been a tremendous amount of people that have put time and effort in this program from a player perspective as other coaches. I mean, Alex Perlmutter was an assistant coach. And the list goes on and on. Well, actually, one of our former assistant coaches will be here too. Trevor Blair, Mike Donnelly.
And I see that. I see that you get a lot of former players to come in and help you coach and help you just kind of keep the program going. And
because they see the value of what we're trying to do.
Right.
And when you look at the people that were there through the failure years, they're actually being the most successful in life because they realize that to win, you sometimes have to fail at everything.
Exactly.
And so that year we went 0-46 those 2 years. But there's a Marine Corps officer that came out of that group. One that had a 4.0 at University of Virginia, just graduated from that group. We have a professional playing golf now because he realized hockey was for him, went to Mississippi State, became a golf pro.
There you go.
And these kids are now having families, and they're realizing that learning to fail in many regards made them on a path of success later.
Right. It makes them find a way to succeed.
And we had a great coach, long-time assistant coach for many years, Coach Marcus Zinger, that really helped lay the foundation for what it is now. They were there during the rough years, and they don't realize how much of an impact that they had on not just me, but as a program. And those people really helped lay that foundation to where we're at today.
Amazing. I'm pretty impressed with the program. I mean, and I haven't seen you guys play. I'm going to stay. We're going to see and get some highlights tonight. I know it's a. What, you got 2 home games? Today is your home opener.
Home opener against Marymount University, and we're actually Marymount's.
Okay.
So we actually partner with Marymount to help their program build. There's a couple former Nova players on Marymount's team.
How do you find the energy? I mean, my friends and my patients, they ask me, how do I do what I do consistently? But how do you find the energy? I've in the research that I've done, you're doing a little bit of everything, not just with Nova, the hockey program, but you're doing a little bit of everything. You're keeping busy, and how do you manage time?
A lot of caffeine.
I'm with you, man. Starbucks fan?
No, Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi. There's a joke that if Coach is cranky, give him something with caffeine, he'll be better.
Hey, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
Oh my God, I'm a coffee guy, so I'm carrying a cup of coffee almost everywhere. So we were talking off camera, mouth guards. Controversial. How do you feel about them?
I think it varies. I'm a firm believer of let's protect who you got.
Right.
I've got multiple pucks in my face. I've had sticks to my face. I've had probably about 30 stitches in my face before. When I look back, I'm like, maybe cool when I was 16, but nowadays I still have those scars.
Right.
Protect what you've got. Mouth guards have shown that if you have a mouth guard, your concussions will go down. I mean, in terms of when you get hit, it's better for the shorter recovery times. I'm actually a bigger fan for the NHL to go full face shield at some point.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Explain why.
So when you look at, you got to protect what you have in terms of the older generation. Well, there's 2 things. Number one, I'm a big supporter of USA Hockey raising the checking age to bantams. When I played those peewees, and you have this gladiator effect. I'm a big fan of St. John University football, that they actually don't check in practice.
That's right.
And they're the winningest football program in history. Focus on the fundamentals, the finesse of the game.
That's right.
And let's eliminate some of this gladiator combat stuff. Fighting in the ECHL and AHL, I was never a big fan. NHL, there's big hits, doesn't mean you need to take somebody's head off. But as you go up, let's protect the individual the smart way.
Right.
Even if it's not a check, you could get a puck, a stick, something to the face. And once you lose a tooth or jaw, you can't replace it.
Exactly.
And let's get off this mentality of the hockey player should not have any teeth or stitches in their face.
Exactly.
Let's be the sport of let's be a rough sport,
right.
no doubt about it, but let's protect the valuable things that you were given.
Right. I've talked about that tons on podcasts before, about the helmet. Mm-hmm. And I think you're right. A full cage, at least at this level still, mm-hmm. just because it's going to absorb more of the impact. And also because you're with the half shield, it's a style thing too. Right. It's a culture too, right? So it's a style thing. So the helmets they're going to change a little bit, but right now I don't see it in the future anytime yet. So I agree with you with the face mask.
I'll bet you within 10 years when the plastic bubble, I call them plastic bubbles.
Yeah.
In fact, when I was a kid, they were just starting out.
Right.
But with the new type of glass technology that you're seeing in cell phones, the lighter materials, you're going to see a full face shield eventually in the NHL.
For sure.
with super light plastics.
Right, so they can see and breathe and do all that.
And it won't fog up or anything like that.
Right. Well, Coach, hey, it was a pleasure. It was definitely a pleasure. But I know you've got a game, and go prep those guys before you go out there. If a young player out there is looking to make a move to the Nova Nighthawks, how do they contact you?
So you can give us contact by email,
okay.
bhaga at nvcc.edu or novaathletics.com. And here's my sales pitch for that. You can play hockey and get an education at Nova for less than what you're paying for juniors.
What? Ow, that hurt. But no, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Think about it. If you're paying to play at that level, I mean, I like juniors, but when you look at the junior programs around here compared to the junior programs in Minnesota.
Different. My junior program was in the Minnesota Junior Hockey League, so you know how competitive that was.
Those are the kids that don't make high school JV.
Yeah.
And that's competitive. But,
exactly.
But evaluate your life. Do you have a chance of going up to a 4-year school? If you have a chance of going to a true 4-year NCAA program or an ACHA Division I program, maybe stay in juniors.
Right.
If you want to play for the love of the game, look at us. Look at any program around here and try to get your education at the same time.
Absolutely. And when some of my junior players come into the office from an injury, and I've been asked several times, like, Doc, what do you think? Go one more year because I have eligibility, or go to college? I always say go to college because you can find other things to do there. There may be a program that you can walk onto. But let's at that point, I'm honest with them. I'm like, you're not going to make the NHL, right? So we know that, and we've come to grips with that. But yeah, man, that's great. I'm looking forward to this game. And I want to say special thanks to Northern Virginia Community College Director of Sports Info, Tony Black, for sharing this and putting it together for us. That's how we met. And I'm sure I've seen you around the rink before, but thank you again, guys. And listen to the podcast. Let us know what we're doing. Go to Hockey Doc Talk on iTunes. Go to Hockey Doc Talk on YouTube. Watch the videos. Let us know. Email us. Let us know any other topics you want us to cover. You can always reach me on Hockey Doc Talk at aka Hockey Doc Dr. Felix on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.